I just got back from a 9-night Alaskan cruise with my husband and kids. And I thought I was going to use that time to finally, catch up on life. The things we tell ourselves. I finally will read those books. I'll work on that business idea. I'll get organized. I'll think through my next steps. I had all these grand plans. And instead, I found myself sitting on our balcony, staring at the ocean, waiting for whales to appear, which honestly barely happened because it was too early in the season. But what did happen was something way bigger. I rested. I laughed with my kids. I spent uninterrupted time with my husband. I met new people. I slowed down enough to realize something really uncomfortable. I do not want to go back to living the way we were living before. Hey everyone, welcome back to Struggle and Strength Moms Balancing It All with Nikki. Honestly, today's episode feels just a little bit different because it took a lot for me to actually get the motivation to record it. Because I just am in this mode now where I don't know if I want to continue doing the things that I was doing before we took our cruise. So let me tell you everything that occurred before and after our cruise. So, usually before our family trips, I become the research queen. Of course, like if I didn't plan it, schedule it, do all the things, our family would never go on vacations. Pretty sure that's probably the same with most moms out there. We do all the planning, all the legwork before, everything that has to go on, and our husbands just kind of like show up. I spend hours trying to plan everything perfectly because let's be honest, family vacations are really expensive. And of course, cruises, they can be that way too, especially if you do the excursions. And because we have a family of five, it's insane. So normally I try to research everything. I search all of like the comments that are in there's like a shipmates app and then the cruise line app and of course on Facebook and Reddit and like all these different places trying to get people's comments of what they did, where we're going. I compare prices, I find hiking trails, I map out attractions, calculate the drive times, figure out the parking, the rental cars, I look up reviews. I usually create spreadsheets, of course, all in my head. And then when we get home on the computer, we usually rent a car and we do things ourselves because we can save thousands of dollars that way. And honestly, I usually wear that planning like a badge of honor. But this time was different. I didn't have the time or the mental energy to do all the research. The day before, I literally hosted a networking event. And then I had kid activities. Like, I'm surprised I was even packed and ready to go for our cruise this time. Instead of me doing all the research, I had my AI chief mom officer do it. I know you're thinking AI, like everybody's talking about AI, but this was honestly one of the coolest things I've ever done. And I was so excited about it because I created this program. I put in everything that I wanted for our trip that usually I do, and it did it all. My AI program literally built out our itinerary. It told us whether or not we needed to rent a car, how far the attractions were, the estimated costs, the best family activities, timing recommendations. It knew our cruise schedule, when we were having to get on and off the ship, what our best options were for that day, what the weather was going to be like, what should we should pack. It was so incredible. And for the first vacation ever, I wasn't carrying that mental load of planning every single second. Literally, this is probably the least prepared I've ever been for a vacation. And at first, it felt a little daunting. I'm not going to lie. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to have my itinerary. Who has it? Where is it? And I had the kids read it the day before when we went out on our little, like when the boat landed in the places that we stopped at. And I was like, "Okay, tell us what we're gonna be doing." And then, of course, like, "What's the weather gonna be like? What do we need to pack?" This time, it was so amazing. Like, we woke up, got dressed, followed the plan, and do you know what shocked me more than anything? Is that the world didn't fall apart because I wasn't controlling every detail of it. And actually, it felt so peaceful because I didn't have to think. I just made decisions on the fly. I got to be the one, like my husband, who just goes with the flow and is like, then it's like, what's the plan? Well, I don't know. Read the itinerary. What does it say? And I think that's when I realized how exhausted moms really are. Not physically, but mentally, because we're managing everything all the time. And I kept sitting outside on our balcony, just staring at the water. And at this time, like on this cruise, there was very little cell phone reception. Of course, when you're on the cruise, you could do like the sailing at sea, but I'm not going to pay for that because I've done that before and the bill is outrageous. And then of course they give you the free minutes, but I thought, you know what, it was such a hassle even just to even try to get it to work. The only thing that I had to do was the social media for the gym that I do, and then I had to post my podcast from last week, which I had already pre-recorded. So that which what normally takes me like 15 minutes took me an hour and a half. So I was like, "Okay, I am not going to try and mess with this minutes, internet on the boat. I'm just gonna enjoy life." So I had no constant notifications, no practices, no rushing, no what's next, no driving everybody everywhere every second of the day. I didn't have to think who's going where, who's driving who's going to get something out for dinner, who's cooking dinner, what are we doing? Like, it was amazing. And it reminded me so much of COVID. Not the scary parts, not the uncertainty, but the slowdown, the forced simplicity. Before COVID, life felt so chaotic. And let me tell you, it was. We had like three kids under the age of three, pretty much. We are also starting up our new top business. I was working full time. My husband was working the weekends. We never really saw each other. And then, of course, we had the kids in every single activity you could even imagine: gymnastics, soccer, baseball, hockey, instrument. Like, it was insane what we had these kids doing, like every waking moment. And I would be up from 6 o'clock in the morning until like 1 or 2 in the morning every day, wash, rinse, repeat. And I was exhausted. But after things opened back up again, we somehow convinced ourselves that returning to that chaos was normal. But why? Why do kids need to be in 5 activities? Why do moms feel guilty resting? Why are we constantly rushing to the next thing? And why are we pushing our kids to be like the best and like they have to perform amazing? We have to give them all these tutors and trainings and extra things because if they don't perform well, then it looks bad on us. At what point do we stop and ask, is this actually making our family happier? Because honestly, I don't think more activities automatically equals a better childhood. And I definitely don't think that constant exhaustion equals a successful motherhood. Now, coming home has been really hard. I am grateful that this weekend is a holiday weekend, and actually today is my birthday, because emotionally, I'm not ready to jump back into the chaos. It took me all day today just to get up to record this podcast. I'm not ready for the practices, the schedules, the driving, the work, the networking, the pressure, the constant movement, the mental load that never ends. And the crazy thing is, nothing is technically wrong because I think sometimes we build lives that look successful from the outside while quietly draining ourselves on the inside. What I want now is simplicity. I want margin. I want peace. I want conversations with my kids that are not rushed. I want presence with my husband. I want space to think, space to breathe, space to create. And honestly, I think a lot of moms are craving the exact same thing, but feel guilty admitting it because we feel like we have to constantly stay busy or we have to give our kids the latest and greatest. We're always trying to be better than our parents. We take the things that we love from our childhood and we try to put those memories and exact things into our kids' childhood. And then the things that we didn't like, we try not to do, although we end up doing those anyways. It's like you say you're not going to spank your kid, but then you end up doing it because you get so angry you can't stop. Or you say you're not going to scream at your kids like your parents did to you, but then you end up doing it because you're so mentally exhausted that you can't control what is actually coming out of your mouth. I've been there. I've done that. And the beauteous part, I don't even know if that was a word. The most beautiful part of this cruise was that we got to be ourselves with not trying to outdo anybody else, just enjoying the peace and the nature that Alaska had to bring, meeting new people from different parts of the world, sharing our experiences, talking about our kids, what we wanted in life, all of that with no pressure. And that doesn't happen when we get home, right? When we're in our own environment with other moms, other parents, we're always comparing. What are they doing? Should we be doing what they're doing? Why are they doing all these things? Maybe we're behind because we're not doing all these things. Our kids need to be in so many activities because we have to compete with the Robinsons, It's just we're always thinking about everybody else and what they're gonna think of us and how our child is doing. I mean, I tell myself, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it," and I end up doing it. It's like, "Well, she's moving on to another dive, why aren't you? Well, they're doing this, why aren't we?" And it's like, "Well, we spent money on this, we should be getting the most for our money," Like, there's always a reason why we are craving things that, we're trying to control our environment. And what ends up happening is by doing that, we're constantly filling our minds with all of this yuck, like junk, the gook. And does that really matter? Our kids are healthy, they're doing great in school, they're loving life, they're making friends, they're doing sports and doing them well. Like, what else could we ask for? They're polite. But I think we get so stuck in our minds because we have so much going on that we don't wanna actually deal with not having things being constant. I don't know about you, but, when I met my husband, I was in this really bad headspace. Like, I was constantly working. I was working at Walgreens, and I was putting in probably, like, 60-hour work weeks as the manager there because I didn't want my store to suffer, and so I put my life and my soul into it. And I mean, it was so bad that I was dreaming about work in the middle of the night. My life was work. That was it. And when I was with him, we would lay down and watch movies, although I would end up just falling asleep. But that was the most relaxed I've ever felt because I wasn't constantly thinking about work and what needed to get done and all the millions of things that were there that I had to do. And, I had to make my store look beautiful and have all my customers happy and do all these things. But then after I woke up from the nap watching the movie with my husband, I would feel worthless. I would feel like I didn't get anything done, and then the anger would come in, and I would get so upset because I'd be like, "We just wasted the day." Like, I literally just laid down, tried to watch a movie. I didn't even get to watch the movie, and then I fell asleep, and now, 2, 3 hours have gone away, and I haven't done anything, and I'm so behind. Now fast forward to my life now, same thing happens, but now I have 3 kids. And so I don't ever get a chance to stop and relax, and when I do, I feel so worthless because there's there's never a moment that goes by in the day where things don't need to get done. And every time that I look at the house, it's like, "Okay, we need to clean the house." And every time that I look at my work, it's like, "Okay, I have all these things that I need to get done." And when I was on that cruise, I didn't have those things in my mind, and it was so peaceful. So now I need to figure out how can I get that peacefulness into my life now outside of the cruise and not feel the worthless feelings. So I want you to sit here and think about the words that I'm saying because this is very important for every mom out there. Is that you don't need permission to quit everything or to disappear from responsibilities. But we need to ask ourselves, what actually matters most? Because maybe success is not doing more. Maybe success is finally building a life that you don't not that you do not constantly need a vacation from. Think about it. We go on vacation because we need to relax and get away from our life. But what if the life that you built was like a vacation? You would love every moment of it, not dread, "Oh, today's Sunday. That means tomorrow is Monday, and then we have to go to school and all the kid activities, and then I have to plan dinners and all my meetings and all these different things." But what if it was like, "Yes, today is Sunday. That means tomorrow is Monday, and we have this beautiful life starting." So I want you to really think about the life that you want. And is it necessary for you and the kids to be doing the things that you're doing every day right now? It's funny, so many things happened while we were out on this cruise with my daughter's diving. They lost a pool, then they switched pools, and all these different things are happening. And it is not ideal, I'm going to tell you. And what it made me sit back and realize is that she's only just turned 11. She has the rest of her life ahead of her. Do we need to be practicing for 4 hours every day and driving here, there, and everywhere and going to all of these different out of town let me just tell you, for her diving, we've been to New Jersey/New York. We're going to Florida. We've been to Houston like 5 times. We've been to Arkansas. We're going to Florida and West Virginia. Like, there's all these different places that we've been this year alone just for her diving, and she's only just turned 11. I don't want her to get burnt out, but while I was in the thick of it, it was like, we have to do these things or else we're gonna get left behind and we're not gonna be competitive, and that's just our mind tricking us that we have to do more. But remember, doing more does not mean that you're more successful. So I want you to really think about that. We were doing futsal and soccer and indoor like all these different things. Is that really necessary right now when my kids are 8, 9, and 11? No. So let's cut out the things that don't necessarily really matter, that we don't have to actually have. Now, their instruments, yes, we have to do those because they love them. And if you don't continuously do your instrument, then obviously you're not going to practice. Practice makes permanent. So you need to be able to grow and develop. Those are good things. But we're not going to be going to futsal and soccer and then indoor and playing summer soccer and all these different things going crazy. I want to actually enjoy life. So, thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Struggle and Strength Moms Balancing It All with Nikki. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with another mom who feels overwhelmed by the constant hustle of life. Because I have a feeling we are not the only ones questioning whether busy really means fulfilled.